Hi, Wealth. Welcome on board. Good to have you here. Welcome to the Pen Minds Book Club. It's always interesting being here. You happen to be my first guest. Whoops. And so I'm excited to have you here. And yes, today on the Pen Minds Book Club, we are looking at the power of positive self esteem. It's always interesting being here, just in case. You're just joining us for the first time, and we'd like you to know that the Pen Minds Book Club is basically about everything books, from book reading to book reviews to book writing, book editing, book publishing, and of course promotions. We're always out to help in all of these areas. And today we're still looking at the book 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. And it happens to be one of the amazing books that has principles of growth that applies to every aspect of your life. In the past few weeks, we've been looking at diverse excerpts of this book, and today we're looking at the power of positive self-esteem. Hello, Happy, shout out to you. Thank you for joining in. Hi, Sammy, shout out to you as well. Thanks for joining in. And so I'll just go ahead and get started with the book reading for today. So it always goes that like this. We get to read a part of the book and then we discuss it as well. So it's very important that you have perhaps a pen, a book where you can jot down certain insights or perhaps questions or things that resonate with you that you would perhaps want to discourse about later on in the course of this session. And yes, just in case you're just joining this house for the first time, kindly click on the green icon right beside the Pen Minds Book Club, the green house icon, and follow the house. I'd like to have you as one of us. Thank you so much again for joining in. The power of positive self-esteem. You must see value in yourself to add value to yourself. Personal development is the belief that you are worth the effort, time, and energy needed to develop yourself. Dennis Whitley says this. I often ask myself what keeps people from being successful. I believe all people have the seeds of success within them. All they need to do is cultivate those seeds, water them, feed them, and they'll begin to grow. That is why I've spent my life trying to add value to people. I love to see people blossom. So, why do many people fail to grow and reach their potential? I've concluded that one of the main reasons is low self esteem. Many people don't believe in themselves. They don't see the possibilities that God put in them. They possess 100 acres of possibilities, yet never cultivate them because they're convinced that they won't be able to learn and grow and blossom into something wonderful. Oops, potential squashed. That was the case of John Netta Maxwell, whose story I recently learned about. For more than 30 years, she was someone who saw little value or potential in herself. But to be honest, there were many legitimate reasons for her poor perception of herself. She was born to a single mother who didn't want her and told her so. She and her sister Sonia, who was a year older, along with a cousin, spent the first 5 or 6 years of their lives being raised by their grandmother in Birmingham. But the house was also shared by three uncles who abused all three of the children psychologically, physically, and sexually. John Etta was scarred, both physically and emotionally. She says, by the time I was 5 years old, I had already started to believe that I was not only inferior, but I was also a child abandoned by my own mama. As a child, I had no place, no voice, and no worth at all. When Janetta and Sawyer's mother learned about the abuse, she moved the three girls to a new home. But the abuse continued, this time from the men her mother brought home. Sawyer ultimately responded by living on the streets and turning to crack cocaine. Janetta, on the other hand, avoided drugs, but she spent much of her time on the streets and dropped out of high school in the 11th grade. She had the first child out of wedlock at age 19, then a second child in her mid 20s. For the most part, she lived in government supported housing and on government assistance and relied on her boyfriends for additional support. To keep herself in designer clothes, she resorted to shoplifting. Sawyer perspective poignantly sums up the state they were in. Everybody in my family been in jail, on drugs, didn't finish high school. So what I got to live for? What I got to amount to? Nothing. What I got to accomplish? Nothing. Sonia says. A look in the mirror. Jonathan's 30th birthday caused her to look in the mirror. She didn't like what she saw. These were her words. That day, I woke up and realized I had absolutely nothing to celebrate. No money, no full-time job, no home, no husband, and no clue, not even the will to do better. At last, I knew it was time to make some changes. She wasn't happy with her life, and she realized that if she continued in the same direction she was going, her two sons would also be headed for trouble. As far as she knew, not a single male member of her family had ever finished high school. Many died young or ended up in jail. She didn't want that for her boys. For Jonathan, the process started with her working to get a GED. She took a 12-week course to prepare and then took the test. She needed a score of 45 to pass. She received a 44.5, but she was determined to make something of herself. So she scheduled a retake at her first opportunity. When she passed, she was excited to be chosen to speak at the graduation ceremony. No one from her family bothered to attend. Janetta knew that if she was going to change, she needed to leave Birmingham and get a fresh start. And she wanted to do something no one in her family had ever done: go to college. She decided to move to Atlanta, Georgia, and was motivated by a profound thought: I get a chance to be anyone I want to be. You get a chance to be anyone you want to be. It took her almost 3 years to pull it off, but she made the move. Soon afterwards, she enrolled in Kansas State University, deciding to take more than a full load every semester. She was 33 years old when she started school. She was street smart, but not very book smart, at least not at first. That intimidated her in the beginning, but for the first time in her life, she knew that she was determined to better herself. And soon she realized she could do it. I realized that I didn't have to be smart, Jonathan explains. I just had to be determined, motivated, and focused. This came with a high price tag for me. I had to exchange my thinking. I had to think like a smart person. Not only did she study hard and stay focused, but she also sought out the smartest person in each of her classes and asked to study with her. Soon she was studying and thinking like the best students in the school. She also maintained the vision she had for her future. At the beginning of every semester, she went to the bookstore on campus and tried on a cap and gown, looking at herself in the mirror and imagining what it would be like to graduate. One day, when a classmate was talking to her, she had a realization. The classmate was saying, I don't love myself. I'm a nobody. John Netta responded, you sure can love you if I love me. And that's when it hit her, maybe for the first time. I realized I loved myself. She had changed. She was turning into the person she wanted to be, that she was created to be. Jonathan completed the work for a bachelor's degree in 3 years. Then she enrolled in graduate school, where she earned a master's degree in social work. Currently, she's working toward earning a doctorate. I went for something the society told me you can't do, says Jonathan. Oh, yes, I can. Yeah, still looking at the power of positive self esteem. I'd like to share an invite just in case you want to share something. Perhaps you can pick from that story by of Jonathan that we just shared right now, that was just read right now. So I'm going to send an invite to you. Please, if you're not in any way in a place to talk, feel free to decline. However, if you can join in the conversation, let's talk about it. Let's talk about the story of Jonathan and what you have gotten from our story thus far before we move on to other parts of the book reading session. So I'm sending an invite right now. Please do well to respond. Remember, it's not just book reading, but it's also book discussion. So we just get to talk about it. Let's talk about the story of Jonathan and, of course, Sonia, who were both exposed to, being abused growing up. Jonathan was basically rejected by her mom. She told her, like, I don't need you. I don't want you. And she was left to being raised by her grandma. And so you can imagine what she was exposed to growing up. 3 times when she had to stay on the streets because she didn't even have. I've sent an invite to everyone. Please do well to join in if you can. If not, I would just go ahead with the next part of the reading. But I would also love to hear from you. Anybody? All right. It's always fun to share. But there's so many things to learn. Even when the world tells you you can't, understand that you can. And the things that people dare you not to do or you can't do, it's necessary to believe in yourself and maintain positive self esteem no matter what. Jonathan's story is powerful, a powerful example of what can happen in any person's life when you recognize value and begin to add value to yourself. It makes a whole lot of difference. In Jonathan's case, she was motivated by the desire to help her children, and she began to add value to herself first and later saw the value in herself. It doesn't matter which occurs first, one feeds the other. What matters is that the cycle of value starts. If you don't realize that you have genuine value and that you're worth investing in, then you'll never put in the time and effort needed to grow to your potential. If you're not sure you agree with that, then consider the following. Self esteem is the single most significant key to a person's behavior. Often I've heard my friend Zig Ziglar say it's impossible to consistently behave in a manner inconsistent with how we see ourselves. We can do very few things in a positive way if we feel negative about ourselves. Zig has a very practical common sense wisdom that he has shared with people for years, but experts in the field agree with his assessment. Nathaniel Brandon, a psychiatrist and expert on the subject of self esteem, says no factor is more important in people's psychological development and motivation than the value judgments that they make about themselves. Every aspect of their lives is impacted by the way they see themselves. If you believe you are worthless, then you won't add value to yourself. And guess what? Low self esteem puts a ceiling on your potential. I'm well known for teaching the law of the lead from the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. Imagine that you want to do something great in your life that impacts a lot of people. Perhaps you want to build a large organization. That desire, no matter how great, will be limited by your leadership. It's a lead on your potential. Well, your self esteem has the same kind of impact. If your desire is a 10, but your self esteem is a 5, you will never perform at the level of a 10. You will perform as a 5 or lower. People are never able to outperform their self image. As Nathaniel Brandon says, if you feel inadequate to face challenges, unworthy of love or respect, unentitled to happiness, and fear assertive thoughts, wants, or needs, if you lack basic self trust, self respect, and self confidence, your self esteem deficiency will limit you no matter what other assets you possess. Truly, people are never able to outperform their self image. The value we place on ourselves is usually the value others place on us. A man once went to a fortune teller to hear what she had to say about his future. She looked into a crystal ball and said, "You'll be poor and unhappy until you're 45 years old." "Then what will happen?" asked the man hopefully. "Then you'll get used to it." I'm sorry to say, but that's the way most people live their lives, according to what others believe about them. If the important people in their lives expect them to go nowhere, then that's what they expect for themselves. That's fine if you're surrounded by people who believe in you. But what if you're not? You shouldn't become too concerned about what others might think of you. You should be more concerned about what you think of yourself. That's what Jonathan Maxwell did as she prepared for her move to Atlanta. And when she moved, they told her she would fail. They told her she would come back to the level she started from. Nobody really believed in her. But guess what? She didn't care. She had her own solution. She says, "You don't have to accept what people say you have to be." Isn't that wonderful? If you put a small value on yourself, rest assured the world will not raise the price. If you want to become the person you have the potential to be, you must believe that you can. And there are steps to build your self image. One step is this: guard your self talk. If you put a small value on yourself, remember that the world will not raise the price. So you must guard your self talk. Whether you know it or not, you have a running conversation with yourself all the time. What is the nature of yours? Do you encourage yourself or do you criticize yourself? If you're positive, then you help to create a positive self image. If you're negative, you undermine your self worth. Where does negative, critical self talk come from? Usually from our upbringing. In the book, The Answer, businessmen authors John Assaraf and Murray Smith talk about the negative messages children receive growing up. They write, by the time you're 17 years old, you've heard "no, you can't" and have average of 150,000 times. And you've heard "yes, you can" about 5,000 times. That's 30 no's for every yes. That makes for a powerful belief of "I can't." That's a lot to overcome. It's one of the reasons it took Jonathan Maxwell 30 years to start believing she could change. From an early age, she had been made to feel valueless. If we want to change our lives, we have to change the way we think of ourselves. If we want to change the way we think of ourselves, we need to change the way we talk to ourselves. And the older you are, the more responsible you are for how you think, talk, and believe. Don't you have enough problems in life already? Why add to them by discouraging yourself every day with negative self talk? When I was a child, my favorite story was the little engine that could. Why? Because I found it so encouraging. I used to read it over and over, and I used to think, that's me. I think I can too. You need to learn to become your own encourager, your own cheerleader. Every time you do a good job, don't just let it pass. Give yourself a compliment. Every time you choose discipline over indulgence, don't tell yourself that you should have. Anyway, recognize how much you are helping yourself. Every time you make a mistake, don't bring up everything that's wrong with yourself. Tell yourself that you are worth paying the price for growth and that you will learn to do better next time. Every positive thing you can say to yourself will help. Stop comparing yourself to others. When I started my career, I looked forward to the annual reports from the organization showing statistics for each of its leaders. As soon as I received them in the mail, I would look for my standing and compare my progress with the progress of all the other leaders. After about 5 years of doing that, I realized how harmful it was. What happens when you compare yourself to others? Usually, it's one of two things. Either you perceive the other person to be far ahead of you and you feel discouraged, or you perceive yourself to be better than the other person and you become proud. Neither of those is good for you, and neither will help you to grow. Comparing yourself to others is really just a needless distraction. The only one you should compare yourself to is you. Your mission is to become better today than you were yesterday. You do that by focusing on what you can do today to improve and grow. Do that enough. And if you look back and compare the you of weeks, months, or years ago to the you of today, you should be greatly encouraged by your progress. Move beyond your limiting beliefs. I love the old comic strip Shoe by Jeff McNally. In one of my favorites, Shoe is pitching in a baseball game. In a conference on the mound, his catcher says, "You've got to have faith in your curveball." It's easy for him to say, grumbles Shoe. When it comes to believing in myself, I'm an agnostic. Unfortunately, that's the way a lot of people think about themselves. They don't believe that they can accomplish great things. But the greatest limitations people experience on their lives are usually the ones they impose upon themselves. When a man has put a limit on what he will do, he has put a limit on what he can do, says Charles Schwab. As soon as Jonetta changed her self-limiting thinking, she was able to change her life. You can do same. And one of the things you need to do is identify a limiting belief that you want to change. Determine how the belief limits you have. Can create a turnaround statement that affirms or gives you permission to be, act, or feel in a new way. That's really good advice. Add value to others. Because people with low self esteem often see themselves as inadequate or feel like victims, which often starts because they actually have been victimized in their past. They focus inordinately on themselves. They can become self protective and selfish because they feel that they have to be such to survive. If that is true of you, then you can combat those feelings by serving others and working to add value to them. make a difference in people's lives, even a small one, in the lives of other people, lifts oneself self. It's hard to feel bad about yourself doing something good for someone else. In addition to that, adding value to others make them value you more. It creates a cycle of positive feeling from one person to another. And remember, it's hard to feel bad about yourself when you're doing something good for someone else. Another step to building positive self image is do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. Do the right thing, even if it's the hard thing. One of the best ways to build self esteem is to do what's right. It gives a strong sense of satisfaction. And what happens whenever you don't do the right thing? Either you feel guilt, which makes you feel bad about yourself, or you lie to yourself to try to convince yourself that your actions weren't wrong or weren't that important. That does harm to you as a person and to your self esteem. Being true to yourself and your values is a tremendous self esteem builder. Every time you take action that builds your character, you become stronger as a person. The harder the task, the greater the character builder. You can actually act yourself into feeling good about yourself because positive character expands into every area of your life, giving you confidence and positive feelings about everything you do. Practice a small discipline daily in a specific area of your life. Celebrate small victories. It's important to celebrate yourself. When you do the right thing or you take a small step in the right direction, what is your emotional response? What kind of things do you tell yourself? Are your thoughts like this? Well, it's about time. I didn't do as much as I should have. That won't make a difference. It's hopeless. I'll never succeed. Or are they more like this? It's good that I did that. I did the right thing. Good for me. Every little bit helps. I'm much closer to success. If your thinking runs more like the first least, then you need to change your thinking. I have to admit that I have trouble. I have no trouble celebrating small victories. Then again, I have no trouble celebrating big victories either. I just love celebrating. You should too. Taking a break to celebrate is good for you. If nothing is ever good enough, you can lose heart. Celebrating encourages you. It helps to inspire you to keep going. Don't underestimate its power. Embrace a positive vision for your life based on what you value. If you have a positive vision for your life and you take action to fulfill that vision, then you will more readily recognize that your life matters. What do you value? What prompts you to see a positive vision for your life? If you don't have a vision, you're likely to be apathetic. However, if you tap into what you value and try to see what could be, it can inspire you to take positive action. It's time to take more positive actions than ever. Practice the one word strategy. If you could pick only one word to describe yourself, what would it be? I like to tell myself, passionate. That is one word that describes me. I'm highly passionate as a person. How about you? If you could pick only one word to describe yourself, what would it be? Another word I like to pick is inspirational. I'm highly inspirational as a person. What one word describes you? The 10th thing to know is you need to take responsibility for your life. We tend to get in life with what we are willing to tolerate. If we allow others to disrespect us, we get disrespected. If we tolerate abuse, we get abused. If we think it's okay to be overworked and underpaid, guess what will happen? It will work as such. But how about if you take responsibility for your life today? Then you decide, that you can learn and grow and become the person you have the potential to be. You can decide to believe in yourself and you can get started with all the ideas you have right there in your mind with the power of positive self esteem. Keep believing in yourself. A few highlights: make a list of all your best potential qualities. If you have positive self esteem, then this will probably be easy for you. If you don't, it may be a struggle, but don't give up. If needed, spend days or weeks creating the list. Don't stop until you have written 100 positive things about you. If it took you a long time to create the list, then you need to spend more time every day reading through it to remind yourself of your value. Remember, if you do not value yourself, you have a very difficult time adding value to yourself. Using the list as a springboard, decide on the one word that best describes you. Make this word your North Star as you begin adding value to yourself. Few things impact a person's self esteem more than the way they talk to themselves on a day to day basis. Are you aware of how you talk to yourself? Keep track by using your smartphone or carrying an index card so you can tally the number of times each day this week that you think something positive or negative about yourself. In addition, you can ask close friends or family members to tell you whether they think you see yourself in a favorable or unfavorable light. If you want to feel valuable, add value to others. And if you're not doing that already, find a way to serve and add value to others. Thank you for listening to excerpts from the book The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth by John C. Maxwell. I'd like to hear from you. Hi, Mutarayo. Hello, Habi. Good to have you here. Thanks for joining us right here on the stage. And if you're just joining us for the first time, I'd like to say that this is the Pen Minds Book Club, and we deal with everything books, from book reading to book reviews, book discussions, book writing, book editing, book publishing, and of course, promotions. And we are looking forward to serving you in any of these areas. All right. If you're also not following this club yet, kindly click on the green icon right beside the Pen Minds Book Club and follow the house. We would like to have you as one of us. Thank you again for staying through. Matarayo, hi, shout out to you. Would you like to share an insight you got from today's reading? Abby, shout out to you. Would you like to share an insight? I'd also send an invite to us on stage just in case you want to share one or two that we can learn from as well. Remember, we all learn from each other, and by discussing, we can learn a whole lot more. All right. Muturayo, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but I would like to take
Hi,
like
good to
two,
have
three
you here. Thank you
minutes,
for
then I'll
joining
call
in.
you.
You have a few insights to share with us, something you learned, something we should take note of, or perhaps a question.
Yeah, what you really shared today was super, super insightful.
I'm
And the
sorry, I can't
topic,
hear you properly. It's not audible enough. I
okay,
don't know why.
how about now?
Still same. Am I the only one? Who
Okay,
can't hear you properly.
let me try again in about 5 minutes, then I'll share in about 5 minutes if you
Are you
can hear
using
me.
a earphone?
No, I am not. Let me try again in
Okay.
about 5 minutes.
All right, that's fine. Just go ahead. I'll try to pick the words. All right, Abby, shout out to you. I'm sure Motorayo will come back, definitely. Abby, shout out to you. Are you there?
Hi, good evening. I'm here.
Hi, Abby. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you.
Oh, well, great. You want to
How
share
about
with us
you?
insights you got from the book or
Well,
from what was shared today?
I didn't even know where you were reading from because I was trying to. Which book are you reading? I
It's
didn't even
still
know
the
what.
same book, the
I
15
didn't even know
Invaluable
what.
Laws of Growth. So we're just
If,
picking tangible topics and taking it per topic. Yeah?
Okay, if I knew it was the book, I would have just brought out the book from my we reading it through the PDF. I have it on the PDF already. So, but any which ways, please can I just think about what to say and then I will
All
now
right,
get
that
back to
is
you.
fine. No problem. You can take your time. We will be rounding off in a
Okay.
bit, though. There's quite a lot to learn from that. The power of positive self-esteem. We shared the story of Jonathan, who had an experience growing up, and didn't believe in herself. Our entire world didn't even believe in her. Even her mother rejected her. Yet she rose after 30 years and decided to make a change for herself. And yes, you can make a change in life at any time. It's just about you being determined, focused, motivated, and ready to take action. Take actions in the right direction such that you will be able to improve in every aspect of your life and achieve the desired results. And that is it, really. It takes a lot of growth to actually achieve the results you desire in life. And one thing we can build in life on a daily basis is positive self esteem. Remember that when your self esteem is 5 and your desire is 10, you would never truly be able to achieve 10. What you would be able to do is 5 based on your self image or self esteem, or perhaps lower than that. There's a lot we can do together, and there's so much we can become. There's so much you can be. All you need to do is be intentional about building yourself and growing every day. And one more thing that you might want to go with today as we close today's session is if you could pick just one word to describe yourself, what would it be? All right, I just saw you. All right, hi, welcome back, Mochirayo. Iben, good to have you here. Thank you for joining us right here on stage. So, Iben, I will come to you right after Mochirayo. All right, Mochirayo, let's hear from you.
Yes. Can you hear me now?
Wow. I don't know why I can't hear you properly. I don't know what the problem is.
You can hear
Let me
me?
see
Wow.
if I can pick
That's
your
serious.
words. Just go ahead and share.
Okay.
It's clear from my end.
Okay. So since it's clear from event, let me just continue. Um, your topic today is really, really shared so far. Wow. Um, let me just say, personally, I think dealing with positive self-esteem, it's something that a lot of people um battle with, and it comes from different angles. For some people, it's about how they look. For some people, it's about how people perceive them. Some people, it goes in a lot of dimensions. But personally, for me, my own experience dealing with self-esteem, it just has to do with the value I placed on myself before now. It wasn't my background, yeah, was quite a humble background. And growing up, I either consciously or unconsciously put a ceiling on how I should be valued. And that turnaround was, I think, when I was in the university or so. And from there, I start to re engineer my thoughts. I start to, how do I put it? This popular cliche that people say you unlearn, you relearn. I had to start relearning all of the things that defined me before, because I realized that all of the core values that defined me were really limiting. So from then, I start to change so many things. That is one, knowing that a lot of the things I have to do is should be done because I want to do it, not because people want me to do it. Because there are a lot of decisions that will make life decisions, career decisions, a lot of decisions. If we think very well, we'll see that it is not because we want to do it, but it is because probably society, or we want to impress some people, or we want to live up to some people's expectations, and we do those things. But recently, when I decided to find myself, I found out that, come on, there is nothing, absolutely nothing that I have to do because somebody or some system wants me to do it. I do something because I want to do it. Anything, no matter how important people think it might be, if it doesn't make sense to me, I'm not doing it. And I think I've been able to get to that point because I decided to find myself. In fact, there was a book I read that really helped me gain that conviction about gaining my positive self-esteem. And that book is hey, let me try and remember. Okay, The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Sorry the language, but that's exactly how the title of the book was framed. It's written by, I think, Mark Manson or Michael Manson or so. So that book really gives an insight or further insight on, you just have to do things because you want to do it, not because somebody somewhere or some system somewhere say it is what you have to do. Because one thing, my own doing my own reflection, I realized that there's hardly anything that you have to do. Even staying alive is not something you have to do. You can choose not to do it. Everything in life, I have realized that it's something that you can choose to do it or not to do it. Only if you have developed the personal, or how do I put it, the strength and the resilience to withstand all of the backlash that could come with it. Because anybody who decides to go against society's design and societal norms, come on, you'll be ready for the backlash. But by developing the positive self-esteem, you'll be able to develop the thick skin to withstand all of this backlash, that yes, this is what I'm convinced to do. And no matter what anybody thinks, once I could get the um, full logical explanation to myself that, yeah, this is what I want to do, then we just have to go ahead with it. So, Victoria, thank you for all that you have shared. Made my conviction stronger
Thank
on what I should keep doing going further. I think I'll yield my mic here.
Thank you so much for that share. I'm so glad I was able to hear you eventually. Thank you. And yes, it's very important that we understand that we do things not because other people want us to do it or other people perhaps believe in us. You know, one of the things John C. Maxwell shares in his book is it's fine if you have people around you that believes in you. But what if you don't? What if you don't have people around you that believe in you? Does that automatically stop you from taking steps that would help you become the best version of yourself? Uh-huh. So yes, some people grow up with people who perhaps never believed in them. They had a lot of experiences that scarred them physically, emotionally, and otherwise. Yet they made a decision that I would make the best of myself. I would make the most of my time here on earth, and I'm determined to be everything that I can be. And so, yes, we can all make that decision on a daily basis. And remember, one of the words of Charles Schwab was this: when a man has put a limit on what he will do, he has put a limit on what he can do. You can do a whole lot, especially that's the starting point of the year 2022. There's so much you can do, so much plans you can put in place, so much goals you can just start afresh if there are steps you've not taken because of low self-esteem or fear of moving out there or pushing yourself out there. Now is the time for you to rethink and begin to make decisions towards the right direction. I love you so much. And yes, if you're just joining us for the first time, this is the Pen Minds Book Club. And if you're yet to follow the house, kindly click on the small green house icon right beside the Pen Minds Book Club. And what are we about? We're basically about everything books, from book reading to book reviews, book writing, book editing, book promotions, book publishing. You can send the back channel if you want to get any of, perhaps you want to understand how that works, or you want any of our services, and we'll be glad to attend to you. I love you with all of my heart. And right about now, I'm about to say thank you to everyone. Thank you, Iben. Thank you, Rachi. Thank you, Busa. Thank you, Chinaza. Thank you, Maturayo, Abby. And of course, thank you, Anna, for staying through and for joining us. I love you with all of my heart. The next session we'll be having is next week, Monday, same time, 5:30 to 6:30. So we'll meet again. Have a great time. And this room ends in exactly 2 seconds.